Avengers! Assemble.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Excelsior, the world's #1 Marvel's Avengers podcast. I'm your director, Christian Buckley. Joining me, as always, is the Apex legend and in the spaces between birthday boy, Jack Martin.
Excelsior, Christian. Very excited for this weekend. Mostly excited to see the Batman.
Yes.
Blessed that that the gods have given me both Logan and Batman on my birthday weekends. Very, very happy about that.
Logan, I imagine, is in your favorite superhero movies of all time.
Oh yeah, it's up there. I've historically said it's a perfect movie. Is that true still?
Ooh.
Maybe not, but it's still amazing.
Well, I'm hoping that not only did the gods give you two superhero movies for your birthday, but two of your favorites. You know, maybe Batman can live up to that Logan tier.
Yeah, dude. I've been complete media blackout since I don't know, since I think they released like a third trailer and I saw it and I was like, wish I didn't see that. And I have successfully convinced myself I did not watch that trailer. I'm really good at just being like, you know what, that didn't happen. And I don't remember anything in that trailer. I'm very George Costanza-esque in that regard. So I've been media blackout for quite some time. And I've been like muting everything about the Batman. So pretty excited to go into this as blind as possible.
Yeah, and what's interesting, because I'm in the same boat, I didn't even realize this. This is a prequel novel that's like 140 pages that
Oh, wow.
like sets the tone and gives some insight into the characterization. So I've heard some people say like, "Hey, I read this beforehand and it was really good of an experience," but I will probably visit it after the fact. I bet, but
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, I think entering this new universe, I'm sure we're going to get multiple movies and projects in this like side universe for DC. This is kind of the one I want to lead off with. So,
yeah. Well, this is an Avengers show, so let's talk about what's going on in this game right now, because there's really some interesting things, some interesting choices of what they're talking about this week with Avengers. First up, as always, the headliner. We got some new skins. Would you like to go over the shipment skin first or the premium $15 skin?
let's do the shipment skin.
Okay, so new shipment. It's a new month. Going until April 7th. You can get Captain America's Ultimate Day Off. What does this look like, Jack?
From memory, because I don't have this pulled up in front of me. This is now I do. This is a Captain America wearing like a Captain America t-shirt, similar to the way that Kamala has a Captain America t-shirt, and he has like olive drab pants on and boots. And that's kind of the skin. It's based on, I believe, a comic appearance. It's a pretty good looking skin. I would say it's maybe a step down, obviously, from the previous months. We've gotten a few MCU skins in a row in shipments, which is pretty awesome. But this is still a good one nonetheless.
Yeah, I think this is a good one. I think it's fun. And as much as we all love the MCU skins, I do think it's nice that we're getting away from that, at least for a little bit, with this and the new premium skin, because there's a lot of really cool comic book versions of these characters, that are not in the game yet. And this is a fun one. I wouldn't say this is one that people were like dying and hoping to see enter the game. But I do appreciate when they branch out to the comic roots like they do for the premium skin, which is for your boy, Tony Stark. Tell me about that one.
Yeah, this is based on the Nothing to Fear outfit. I was not familiar with this before seeing this. But this is like one of the coolest skins in the game, I think. Imagine Iron Man. It looks like he has like black armor on. And he honestly looks like the Sentinel from Thor.
Yeah.
With like lines going up and down his body that are like illuminated. He's got like spiky shoulder pads as well as like spiky forearms and stuff. It looks amazing. And going off of what you said, I really like how they are treating this in the same vein as an MCU skin because it is so detailed and it's just so cool that I hope we get some more treatment like this from comic inspired outfits that can be this iconic, because it seems like this is quite iconic and it's pretty badass.
Hell yeah. And I did see, I'm not sure if you saw this. I think I saw this on Twitter, a clip of it, but in combat, the seams of the armor will glow like orange, like the destroyer from Thor. So it will pop out. And it's a dynamic skin, which is fun. And I'm with you. It looks really good. And I am a fan of them pulling in the iconic or really unique comic book costumes. So hopefully we see more of that. I'm sure people want more MCU stuff, and we will absolutely be getting more MCU stuff. But I think it's okay to break the pace up a little bit, you know?
I agree, and I also think there are probably a lot cooler skins that could be mined from comics
Yeah.
because comics can just be way more flamboyant than movies can, because there doesn't have to be like this realistic tone set in place. In comics, they can exist in their own sort of realm. Uh, and I mean, I'm not sure how much sense this would make for Tony Stark to wear this in the MCU. So it's really cool that they can dip into the well of comics, which is very vast and probably has lots of cool outfits. So this is awesome. Hope they keep doing this some more. Like what you said, we're gonna see some more MCU skins. At a certain point, it got a little bit boring, maybe, because it's like,
Yeah.
yep, more MCU skins coming our way. So it's this I think is really fresh. It's from a comic that I'm not too familiar with. I'm sure a lot of Iron Man fans are familiar with this, but this was very eye catching. The image that they shared was amazing. It was him in the outfit with what appears to be like fire or maybe like lava behind him. So, I mean, kudos to the social media team for putting this together because it looks incredible, as well as the people who worked on this outfit. And yeah, I'm hoping we get some more iconic comic book costumes like this, because I think there's some really cool ones that we could see.
Absolutely. And seeing the marketplace fall back to something that we were getting a little more consistently before the MCU skins hit. Let's talk about another thing that's coming back to this game from a while back, the Cosmic event. You remember this from, I think, almost a year ago at this point? It was the one that led into the Monica villain sector, right? And that was the big um one of the first big events, I think, after the Tachyon anomaly one, which
Yeah,
was yeah.
I'm struggling to remember this one.
So I think it was heavily tied to Tachyon anomaly and running those missions, but
Yeah. Oh, did you get
yeah,
like cosmic? You got like cosmic gear and stuff from this?
yes. So that event is returning. It's the next returning event for Marvel's Avengers. It is running until the 17th of March. Nice way to get you some more focused exotics if you want to. Like Jack said, I think the drop rates are higher for Cosmic Gear. I haven't ran any of the Cosmic or Tachyon Rift, Tachyon Anomaly missions. So I'm lacking Cosmic Gear on most people. But if you are like me and like how Cosmic Gear works, Thor, I have a Cosmic Hammer on him. And I believe the Cosmic Power is Life Drain. So that just continues to feed my beefy boy as he mows down wave after wave in this game. So Cosmic is good, and if you're hungry for that gear, you got almost 2 weeks to run through that as I'm listening.
Is it sad that I know the answer to this, but that we just are getting recycled events rather than new events? It's
Yes,
very sad. It's very sad.
it is. And like, I understand the process, right? Like, I get why they're doing this because, again, how many minutes have we made it? In Destiny 2, they have yearly events, they have annual events that are they cycle through, right? Like every winter is the dawning. Every Halloween is the Festival of the Lost. And most of the time there's usually like a new skin for a gun or a new armor set or something new that comes along with these repeated events every year. So like there's not enough events in Avengers to tie it to the seasons. We have this one. We have Corrupted Vibranium, Red Room Takeover. I think that's it. And considering that there's not too much content being added to the game regularly, they have to cycle through the events more frequently than a game like Destiny. I know you mentioned Apex has returning events, right? And I know Fortnite does as well. But with all these other competitors, there's so many other things going on. So the short of it is, I think there is a way they could position these to be exciting and fun, but it's not their priority, nor should it be. I think, you know.
Yeah, no. Yeah, there are clearly more things to be working on in this game than. Well, I don't know. I feel like themed events would be pretty cool, but yeah, like you mentioned with Destiny, it's similar to Apex. Like during Halloween, there's like the zombie event, which is always fun to return to, and during the wintertime, there's like this like train control mode that I'm forgetting the name of, but that's always really fun to return to. Like you can always expect those things around that time of the year, and we don't really have that with this, and it kind of just seems like they're throwing events out just to kind of have something. Like how many times have we seen the Red Room takeover for no reason, really? Like many times there have been, yep, it's back, no particular reason. I guess it's because what's her name is in Hawkeye this week, so there you go. But yeah, it's I don't know, it's a little sad. It's really not that big of an issue, but it's just kind of, if you think about it, it's like, man, we could be getting a few more events thrown around here and there, but right now that's just not the case.
For sure. And we'll see what the roadmap brings. You know, last year when we got the roadmap, they did detail the events that they introduced to the game last year because, believe it or not, we've only been introduced to these things less than a year ago. You know, between the Cosmic event, the Red Room takeover, and then Corrupted Vibranium. We learned about all these things within the last 12 months. So whenever we get a new roadmap, imagining whatever content is on there will most likely be on the same range as before, where maybe there's a new character on here, maybe there's a new raid on here, and then this is going to be peppered in like the Frost Giant funky function, and that's the progression of that Loki subplot that never went anywhere. You know, like maybe that's it.
Man, that is something I think will never be picked up on now that
Oh
you
yeah,
just mentioned it.
yeah.
It's like, man, yeah, that's like a side spin-off DLC situation that is probably never going to happen.
Yeah, honestly, I really did think we'd go to Asgard at some point in the life of this game, but clearly not.
That would have been amazing.
Yeah, maybe that's the DLC. Maybe that's it. Doesn't make sense, but maybe that's it.
That would be crazy.
Well, if you're looking to play the game this upcoming weekend, when you're listening to it, there is also another returning thing that we're all used to at this point. Double Resources is back. If you need to craft some gear things, get in there and get some things to craft some gear with. There you go.
Dude, I'm overflowing with resources in this game.
Yeah.
I have the max amount of upgrade modules.
Mm-hmm.
I have 9,999. Like spilling upgrade modules. So I got nothing to upgrade.
How important is a game's economy to you? Like in game, like your resources feel valuable. Like how much of a priority or a bonus is it for you if a game has a really good economy where things feel like they have worth?
I'm trying to even think of games that would matter to me.
Mm-hmm.
There not many really come to mind. Like I'm not a Destiny player, so
Sure.
that doesn't come to mind.
Let me give an example. In Pokemon Red and Blue, the economy I think is brutal because your money matters. You don't have that much of it. You die, you lose half of it, and the
I
money.
found that out the hard way.
Yeah, the money can be spent on resources that can help your team get stronger, allow you to get through caves easier, a variety of things. Heal your team to help you out of situations, and if you die, you lose some of that money, and you're like, there goes some of my chances to be having an easier time with this game. And I think it's balanced in a way that it makes you feel like your money is worthy of being held by you as a player, if that makes sense.
Sure, I'd rather a situation where I would have to think about it at least a little bit,
Hmm.
and maybe there was opportunities for some grinding to be like, you know what, I'm going to spend a little bit of time and manage my resources here and gather some more. That's fun to me, and I think that's how games should treat resources. Um, I think we are maybe the rare players that have just been playing this game so long, and we have just been gifted so many different things
Hmm.
from the devs here and there
Hmm.
as like make goods in a sense that I'm like overflowing with like everything.
Sure.
Everything. I have over 100,000 units just somehow. um, and every time there's a new shipment, I just hold X for an allotted period of time until the final shipment unlocks. And that's I go about my day. So I don't really think about resources too much in this game.
Hmm. And honestly, I kind of prefer in games like this. Again, my comparison point is Destiny. Just be having like sitting on so much of a resource because like when a gear system is really well optimized, you'll be able to use those resources frequently. So you're always going to be needing them. But yeah, I I'm glad people can hop in there and get some double resources. I'm curious though for the people who are actively playing this game even more than you and I are lately, if they prefer the double XP or the double resources because champion XP and those skill points seem very inconsequential this far removed. But like you're saying, if your gear's all maxed, who's this for? New players, probably, I imagine.
Yeah, it's probably for new players. I think if you have, there are some people who have max champion XP. I don't know how you do that.
Yeah.
That takes a lot of time, unless there's like this crazy workaround that I'm not familiar with. But I see a lot of people like that, and I think they're probably stuck on XP and resources. So I do not think it's for them. It is probably for new players, but I don't know what that community looks like right now. I don't know. I don't know the influx of new players at the moment.
Yeah. So in the meantime, we'll have to just wait it out, see what's up with them. I will say there is a War Table blog this week. However, the past few weeks I have gone to uh their website and have been hit with a 404. So
Yeah,
I have not been able to do it. And I think the first time it happened to me, you were able to access it, I think.
yeah, but not this week. I've also been, and I saw people commenting on their Twitter announcement of the weekly blog, and people also got hit with the 404. So
Yeah.
I would
So,
imagine we
mhm,
would know if there was more pertinent news because someone would have tweeted about that.
mhm.
So I think this is mostly it.
Yes. So apologies that we don't have the full details. But one of the things I did notice in the tweet of the blog from Play Avengers, they said that they're changing the name of like buffs, debuffs, and a few other things, the modifiers, to more accurately reflect what they do to your game as you're playing it. So I honestly I forget what some of them are called, but like there's the weird projectile one that makes missiles more damaging more. Um, that like things like that, they will be changing the names to be easier to understand rather than like, okay, this is the modifier on the mission this week. What does that mean? Um, that's something that apparently their feedback has told them needs to be updated. And I can tell you right now, I don't know what any of them are off the top of my head. So I'm glad they're doing this. I'm glad they're making it more easily understandable by just what it's called, you know.
Is this like Pym particles make people smaller? That's and gamma does. I don't even know what gamma does. Is that what this refers to?
No, I think remember way back in the day when it was like, hey, this is the challenge harm room of the week and there's going to be some modifiers on there to make the enemies harder and like poison
Oh,
damage hits you stronger, stuff like that.
I've never paid attention to that.
Yeah. So that's the thing they're changing, the names of those things.
Okay. Maybe I'll pay attention to that, but probably not.
Yeah.
That is one system that I've completely forgotten about. Like I've never been like, oh, what are the enemies gonna be like? I just go in and be like, oh, I guess they're shooting this right now, and my strategy never changes.
Yeah. Well, this game's not changing in the near future either. So we'll keep the ear to the ground, report back when there's anything major. But there is some major news happening at Marvel Games wise somewhere else in the multiverse. I'm glad you remembered to put this down, Jack, because I forgot about it. But I think out now,
March 10th.
March 10th. So just a few days after listening to this episode, if you listen to it when it goes live, if you're a Game Pass subscriber, you'll be able to play Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy free of charge. That's awesome.
So cool. Especially so soon after release. Like that came out in October and it's March and it's essentially free if you already have Game Pass. If not, it's $10 or $15 or $1, depending on if you haven't had it yet. So, this is so cool. Game Pass is awesome. Guardians is awesome. Great mix up here. The reason I remember this is because we were talking about influx of new players, and I was like, is this game even on Game Pass anymore? But I know Guardians is coming to Game Pass, so that's how I remembered.
Yeah. Maybe not great news for how Guardians sold, because also in the past week or two, there's been some buzz from Square Enix that the game was a huge disappointment, which
No surprise there.
the sky is blue, the world spins, that's that's just what we expect. Square Enix hates how their Western games sell. But I did see Matt Piscatella of the NPD group make a comment on this, and I forget what he said exactly, but it was like, yeah, sometimes Square Enix it has too high expectations, or like sometimes publishers have expectations for a game that are too high. Other times not. This might be one of those times. So that's a huge bummer. And as many people discussed, between the reveal and Avengers being a disappointment for players, probably really hurt this game, which is a huge bummer because I really, really love that Guardians game.
You think we'll get a sequel to this?
No, I don't think
Oh,
so.
that sucks.
I
That
know.
sucks. I think we will. I think this certainly probably didn't sell very well, as Square Enix puts it. Honestly, find difficulty believing everything. Like I'm sure this didn't sell very well, but to them nothing sells well. I can't remember the last time Square Enix was like, man, this is a giant hit for us.
It was
But
a Final Fantasy game.
sure, which makes sense. But
Yeah.
yeah, like I think this struck a chord with a lot of people who were very taken aback at how actually good this was. And I think a sequel for this, the potential sequel for this, would be amazing. This is one of those like Asylum to City type moments. In my mind, that's kind of what I'm envisioning. I would love that. I think if they decide to be a loss leader and do a Guardians 2, I think that'd be great.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. Within their own history, right? I know they were very vocal about Rise of the Tomb Raider doing poorly, but that was when it was only on Xbox. And eventually we got a third Tomb Raider game. So I don't know what's a bigger name, the Guardians of the Galaxy or Tomb Raider? I don't know, honestly. I don't know the answer to that. I would imagine Guardians because of the MCU, right?
Yeah, and I guess now it is probably.
So
Here's the thing. Square Enix is going to get bought by Microsoft anyways. So this game's going to be made. That's my prediction.
I think you're probably correct. Oh man. We'll see what's up with Guardians, but in the meantime, play it to death, play the whole thing. It's great. It's really good.
What an excellent Game Pass game.
Oh yeah,
Unbelievable.
for sure. And I'm curious to see when it does hit what numbers it does on like the most played list because I remember Avengers hit top 4, I think. I think it was fourth.
Yeah, that's right. It was top 5 for sure.
So Avengers, I know it's not really a huge multiplayer pull for many people, right? But the multiplayer component is there, and multiplayer games usually do better on Game Pass. So I'm curious how high it charts the first week, and I'm sure we'll get numbers on that for the episode after March 10th. But yeah, play Guardians.
Definitely.
Well, there's another news story that's been going on in the world. Um, She-Hulk, the upcoming Disney Plus series. According to Mark Ruffalo, it's a passing of the torch.
This isn't very surprising, I feel.
It's not.
Like, you got the old Avengers, you got your Hawkeyes, and now your Hulks, and now there's these new not variant like multiverse, but like, different version of these characters, very similar in abilities and appearances, now taking over the mantle of this role. This makes sense. Passing of the torch, sure. I don't assume that Mark Ruffalo's Hulk will die. I think he'll probably just fade into the background a little bit, and I don't know, be in a lab in the MCU and maybe come out every once in a while. But I think She-Hulk is going to be the main Hulk character going forward, similar to how I'm sure Kate Bishop is going to be the main Hawkeye going forward.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. From the quotes we've also heard about She-Hulk, and from what I'm aware of, people who have seen Tatiana Maslany like act in things, she like has a commanding presence. So I really have no doubt that she'll honestly probably be a better like brute Avenger presence than the Hulk honestly maybe ever was in the MCU, which is a bummer to say because like in hindsight, I really think they kind of just dropped the ball with Hulk. I don't know if you feel differently, but
I mean, I don't think he was one of the standout Avengers.
yeah.
I do think the subplot in Age of Ultron definitely harmed the character. Same with Black Widow, in a way. I think he probably went on a similar trajectory with Thor, where Ragnarok kind of picked him back up and made him a little bit more interesting and funny. But before that, yeah, and especially like he was recast from the Edward Norton movie, so like he didn't even get a good start. I feel like Avengers 1 might be the best Hulk movie now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, even still, he wasn't one of my favorites.
Yeah, I agree, which is a bummer. But I think that with She Hulk and presumably no weird licensing problems, the way that there's the Universal thing with Hulk, she will be given the opportunity to have a spotlight, be a more fully realized character, and like you said, the passing of the torch quote is not that surprising with the case of everything you laid out. So moving forward, She-Hulk is the green machine on the Avengers moving forward. I'm excited. Do you think that we see this first half of the year, second half of the year? When's this coming?
In this year, 2022?
Yeah, it's supposed to be this year, right?
Yeah, I think it is. Dude, I really don't know. I don't know about the scheduling situation. I'll do a quick search. But yeah, I mean, the MCU has like 1,000 things coming out.
Yeah.
So
I know for sure there's no window on it, I don't think. Because, like, we saw with Moon Knight that they're trending to announce things very close to release lately. So I don't think we would hear about a She-Hulk date until probably like 2 months out at most. But yeah, I
the
think it's gonna be fun.
yeah, I agree. I'm hoping this is I'm hoping this is similar in the vein of WandaVision, where it's like structurally different than other shows. Like this seems like it's a more of like a law show, so that'll be cool.
Yeah.
I'm hearing or reading rather on the Wikipedia page, scheduled to be released in mid 2022.
Okay.
I saw people maybe speculating a June situation. I don't know. Multiverse of Madness is May, and something's got to be in July. that
Loki
I'm forgetting.
started in May last year, right? and then Black Widow is July.
Yeah. Oh, Thor is July. Is that right?
Okay, I think so. Yeah,
Or August? I think Thor is July. So I can see this being sandwiched in between the two.
yeah, maybe starting in May and running through June.
Yeah, honestly, this could release at any. I feel like any TV show can release around the time of a movie. I don't feel like they affect each other. Right? They're on completely different platforms,
Yeah,
and I feel like that's happened before. I'm trying to remember.
yeah. I mean, it happened with Spider-Man and Hawkeye.
Yeah, exactly.
So
So I think that's possible. But I think what people were saying June. I think that sounds like a good date.
yeah, that'd be fun. And I like you said, it's gonna be like a legal courtroom sort of thing. I'm super interested in that, as made evident by the conversations we've had about Daredevil over the last month or so. But for those that were following along, didn't finish following along, or going back to these shows that want to follow along with the Daredevil review, you will be able to rest assured you can do it now. We got confirmation. March 16th, Daredevil, Punisher, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Defenders, Jessica Jones, I didn't miss any, are all coming to Disney Plus with some new parental controls. So, implications there, but off the rip, what do you think? Were you surprised to hear this news?
I mean, Disney Plus. I think before this was announced was like it should have been the easy choice, but with Disney, like we weren't sure. Like, are they gonna just put them on Hulu because they don't want to have mature content on Disney Plus? But they did it. I'm very happy. Uh, like what you were alluding to, I think I'm more excited about the implications this has. Like, are we gonna see some Fox movies show up that were more mature? Like, is Logan finally gonna show up when Deadpool comes out? Like Deadpool 3 comes out, are we gonna get the Deadpool movies put on there? Um, I hope this means more for that platform because there's a lot of stuff that could be on Disney Plus that currently isn't. So I hope that is alleviated soon.
The other side of that I'm also very interested in, and I want to hear your thoughts on this. Just a week or two ago, we were talking about how Kevin Feige said Moon Knight is brutal, not pulling punches, da 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 da, and we were like, is that true, Kevin? Is that really true? If you're not even gonna put Daredevil on there, but they're putting Daredevil on there, so do you think that Moon Knight could actually approach some of the levels of intensity that we've seen in Daredevil and the other Netflix shows?
No, I think Daredevil was intended to be made in the MCU, but I think that had like its own sort of tone to it and independence from the MCU because it was a Netflix produced show. I think Moon Knight is much more centered in the MCU, so I think any project going forward that's not Deadpool will be a little bit toned back from Daredevil or like The Punisher or anything that was more mature. I think there's a possibility of it being maybe more graphic than any other like primetime MCU content, but I don't think it reaches that level. I'd be very surprised if we see the level of gratuity that we saw with Deadpool in Moon Knight.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I do, and I always did think that it would maybe be like a little more intense compared to what we've had before, but because they're willing now with the MCU content to have parental controls for more mature stuff be on the table, the thought did cross my mind that like, hey, maybe they actually mean it, you know? Maybe we'll see more than the little paint of fake blood on Maria Hill's face when the grenade blew her up in Avengers 1, you know? Like maybe we get a little bit more than that. But yeah, I think your head's in the right spot for what we're getting out of it, probably.
Yeah, and we'll find out in 2 weeks' time. Less
Damn,
than two
yeah.
weeks' time, which is kind of wild.
So when is it? When's the premiere for Moon Knight?
Is it the 16th? No, wait,
I thought it was
that's
the
when
end
the
of the
shows are
month.
that's when the shows are coming on. I'm mistaken. I'm gonna look that up.
I
But
believe
yeah,
it.
it is
Yeah,
this month. Is it like the 20?
I thought it
It's
was like the
probably on a
30th or
Wednesday.
something. I thought it was like super late in the year, in the month.
Let me find out. I will report back. Yeah, it is the 30th. Oh man, never mind. I led you all astray.
Well, in the meantime, you can get caught up on the Netflix shows, do some binging, because we got a little bit longer to wait for Moon Knight. But there was one interview that Charlie Cox did with comicbook.com since the announcement was made. And it was basically back and forth. Very. Did you like read into this at all? Did you see any of the interview?
A little bit. I just saw like the primetime quote,
Okay.
like the main headline quote about this.
Yeah. So his tone seemed like surprisingly lax about it, of just like it didn't seem like he couldn't say things. Like he was very optimistic and saying like things he hopes to see and all that, which maybe means that there's nothing actively in development right now, because if there was, he probably couldn't be saying what he hopes to see out of this. But basically, he said that he's hoping that when Daredevil gets a new project, they can go rated R like they did on Netflix, but he believes that PG-13 Daredevil can work, and he would trust Marvel to do a more PG version of Daredevil. So, what do you think of that?
I have two minds about this. I don't think they're gonna do the same, like I mentioned with Moon Knight. They're not gonna do the same level of gratuity going forward, even if they do Daredevil season 4. Like
Yeah.
it won't be the same. It simply won't be. But at the same time, I also don't think a rating equals quality. I don't think if you have a rated R or TVMA situation, I don't think that means you have good quality content. Like we got the final season of Game of Thrones was horrible.
Walking Dead.
Yeah, right. And but then like PG-13, we have The Dark Knight and Batman Begins, and like really amazing movies that are not rated R. Like you don't have to be completely violent and over the top to have good quality content. It really comes down to the story and editing and things like that. So I think it's entirely possible to have a really good PG-13 Daredevil. Does not come down to the rating. I do think the rating of Daredevil is important, and like the graphic imagery that they show is important to the story. But I think with the right storytellers, you can tell a very convincing story that is not rated R.
Yeah, and the thing that makes me hopeful as well, because I'm with you. I don't think it needs to be it needs to be R, and I feel the same way about Deadpool. I think like if you're a good writer, you can make it work and still feel authentic. The good news is that we know the Daredevil creative team, for the most part, is still actively working with Marvel Studios right now on the Echo show. So it all the ingredients are right next to the pot. Kevin Feige just gotta dump it in there and start making a soup. You know, it's right there. It's good to go.
Yep.
But speaking of Daredevil, why don't we talk about Daredevil season 3?
Let's do it.
So, general spoiler-free thoughts at first, and then we can get a bit more open, nitty-gritty stuff about the season. I would like to hear your thoughts on this one, because you're returning to the season and want to see if it holds up better than you thought it did, if you feel differently about it now. Just the general returning to this season of television. What do you think?
Yeah. So I saw this when it aired, or when it released, I suppose, back in, I think, 2018. Yeah, because I was abroad when I saw this. And I really enjoyed it then. I kind of forgot about it after it released, which happens with Netflix shows like Stranger Things. Every time that releases, I forget about it kind of instantly. Yeah. So it was nice to go back and revisit this season. And I think I enjoyed it as much, if not more, than my first go around. I thought, especially coming off of season 2 and the Defenders, which I didn't really enjoy all too much. Didn't hate, but didn't love. I think this is a breath of fresh air and a a move in the direction that I prefer Daredevil to be in. It was much more grounded. I think there was maybe some comic book elements of this that were maybe a little zany, but I don't think it was too over the top. Um, Overall, I just really enjoyed the story that was being told, and I think they did a really convincing job of telling it. I think there were some parts of the season that I think were maybe unnecessary, an episode or two that deviated from the Daredevil story itself and wanted to do some side stories. But apart from that, I really enjoyed this season. Not as much as season one, obviously, but I think I had a really good time with this, and this is something I would revisit again. But how did you feel?
Yes, this was my first time going through it. And I knew a couple things going in. Like I knew Bullseye was involved. I knew there was like the in the marketing at least there was like the I think they marketed it as like there's two Daredevils or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I did look up an actor's name during our recording right now, and I forgot about some of the promo posters for the season. Very Christ-like imagery of Daredevil, like bareback with the mask on, just exposed, T-posed, like Jesus Christ, you know.
Oh, send that to me. I want to see that.
Yeah, so there's some return to form with Daredevil, like you said, and I didn't hate season two, right? Because it was more Daredevil, and I love that first season. So getting back in the swing of things with the team and where that all ends up in the end, it felt like a more cohesive Daredevil story, with a couple exceptions, like you said. But compared to season two, it did feel much more like, hey, yeah, this is just a Daredevil show again, and we're doing Daredevil ass things. So that made me very happy. The focus on Fisk again was nice, and I enjoyed it thoroughly. I don't know if I like it more than season one, but it's close, I think. So, why don't we crack into some spoilers? So, I think the major new addition this season is with new antagonists. So, what do you think of, I guess, specifically compared to how season one brought in Elektra? Sorry, season two brought in Elektra. What do you think of Bullseye? I'm curious your thoughts on this.
Liked Bullseye. I Again, this season was more of a better focus than season two, where I liked how Fisk was the one pulling the strings, even more so than he was in season one. And he was manipulating Poindexter as a part of that scheme. And I think they did a good job of setting up his backstory of someone who needs guidance, or else he is someone who like suffers from mental illness. So if he doesn't have that guidance, he's gonna slip into that. And it was honestly like really, it was very dark in a sense where Fisk was able to pull those strings and manipulate him in that way to be that guidance, and then at a certain point throw him away when he didn't need him anymore. So I did appreciate that. I thought that was an interesting storytelling technique. And honestly, something I really love about the season that didn't really click for me until rewatching it, I love the idea of imposter superheroes.
Yeah, dude.
You know what it reminds me of?
Let's hear it.
The Spider-Man Neversoft game.
Yes. Oh my god. Yeah.
At the very beginning, there's a Spider-Man imposter and all that. That is really cool. That reminded me of that. Daredevil's in that game, so like so many things clicked this go around. But yeah, the idea of Poindexter running around as Daredevil in the suit, smearing his name, all in the name of Fisk, and like trying to discredit Daredevil is so cool. Even for that fact alone, but I think his character is interesting enough apart from that. So yeah, I did appreciate his character in this. How there was two villains, and he I think had a decent amount of focus, but he was sort of the sub villain to Fisk. But I think they made it work pretty well.
Yeah, I agree. I think, like you said, the manipulation that Fisk does in this season, I think, is so much. it feels harder, not harder to watch, but like it feels darker than almost anything that he actively did in season one. You know, where season one he
Hmm.
had a lot of ripple effect on things. Like, yeah, there was trafficking going on, but he was allowing it. I guess it wasn't like he was the one who was actually doing it. Uh, but here it's a much more direct through line that we're seeing. So yeah, Fisk. I think we also have the benefit of not having to figure out who the person in the background is for the first half of the season, like we did in season one, right? You can just get right into it. So yeah, all that stuff, I'm with you. But specifically with the imposter thing, that's such a cool character foil in a way, I guess, for a superhero, because you get to see Matt struggle with not like season one. There was a lot of that conversation with the priest of like, if I go too far, I am Fisk, you know, because we both want the same thing, but we have different morals. And then here, actually seeing somebody acting on behalf of Fisk with the Daredevil persona, like you get to see Matt be like offended almost, you know, like just really be insulted by it. So I think that's another reason why it hit for me, because in season one, that message and character thing that kept coming up for Matt about like what's his line, um, which we do see in season two a bit with Punisher, but like I think here specifically with the imposter element added in, it just feels more personal. So yeah, I also really enjoy that, and I'm surprised we haven't seen that used in more superhero like live action stuff, right?
Yeah, and it gets us to see the black costume again. And
Yeah.
man, how could they do it better but adding the rope that he has around his hand? And also the very subtle, like he has like a white cloth underneath the black cloth on his face.
Mm-hmm.
Something about that was really cool. But yeah, dude, I love seeing that uniform again. That to me is Daredevil. Like I think the red suit is good. I don't think I'm blown away by it, but yeah, him showing up and him mentioning like, "Oh yeah, I'm done with that outfit," like that means nothing to me anymore, and him going back to the OG, so cool, great move.
Yeah, and I'm sure that there's a world where they can make the red suit awesome, because I think Daredevil's look is iconic, right? Like the actual red suit with the horns, that's an iconic superhero look. But for what the show is, it just feels so much more right to see him like that, you know?
Yep.
So, yeah, I think him going back to that was awesome. I did know about that going in, unfortunately, but yeah, that's so nice. I love the look of the black suit so much.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite parts going back to this is him diving back. I feel like the show is very like self-aware in that regard,
Hmm.
where I think a lot of people were like us, with like we really like the black costume. I think the showrunners kind of realized that, and they're like, all right, let's just go back to it.
Hmm.
And they, I mean, they explained it very well. He lost his suit from the defenders after being like completely crushed by a building. So,
Hmm.
I mean, it makes sense in the context of the show.
To run back to the Charlie Cox interview, also, I don't know if you saw this, but he did have uh, an answer about the Daredevil suit. Did you hear about this?
No, I didn't.
So he said that he really wants to, whenever he gets a Daredevil suit again, he wants to have like the big D's on it, because
Mm.
he has had this idea that for his portrayal of Matt and Daredevil, he feels like the character thinks that he has to earn that to a degree. And I can see after like everything that he goes through this season, the character, and where we end off with him, I could believe that Matt Murdock thinks that he has to like earn that sort of mythical look to Daredevil again. I don't know, because he goes through a lot of stuff this season, and the way we end off with sort of like a reconvening of the gang, I could maybe see him. I hear what Charlie Cox is saying, right? Of like, Matt needs to get back to what he does best and who he is as a hero and as a person. So I thought that was a fun, interesting thing for him to say.
That is interesting. I'd like to see how they tackle that because we're definitely seeing more Daredevil, and I would assume we're seeing a new Daredevil suit. So interested to see what that looks like.
For confrontations, right? Fight scenes. How do you feel about the fight scenes in this season compared to seasons 1 and 2? First off, and then how do you feel about the Fisk confrontation in this season compared to the season 1 Fisk confrontation?
So I'm struggling. Maybe you could fill in the gaps. Struggling to even remember real notable. Oh, I'm dumb. The prison fight scene is awesome. I forgot
Yeah.
that was in this season. That is fantastic. It's like on par with the hallway fight scene. For the most part, I believe it's one take. It's probably hidden. There's probably some hidden edits in there. But I love this is at the beginning of the season, so that's why I was forgetting. But I love following when Matt gets to the prison, and then like there's a certain point where you realize, oh, he's trapped. He's in a prison. Like you literally cannot escape a prison. So like that's at the point where Daredevil or where Fisk pretty much figures out that Matt is Daredevil, and then you're watching Matt fight his way out of the prison, and then like making deals with prisoners along the way to be like, hey man, if you help me out here, I'm gonna help you out on the outside and things like that. So that was really cool. That was definitely a standout. I was gonna say there weren't too many fights that really were standouts, but that is certainly one of them. But I also really like the end confrontation with Fisk, probably even more so than the season 1 confrontation, because that was just Matt fighting Fisk in an alley, which was cool. But I think there was certainly more impact to this, considering that Matt was going in there with the intention to murder him, and he withheld that, got the blood on the painting, metaphor.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I thought the fighting was pretty much on par to, I would say, season 1 and season 2, and I think the end battle was probably the best of the seasons so far.
Yeah, I really also love the where it takes place for that confrontation too, because like it looks like so much of a nicer set. Just talking like practically too, because like season 1 when we rewatched it, like it was really cool, right, to see him finally beat Fisk, but like at the same time I was like, did they just like go behind the lot to do this? Because it looked
Yeah.
really strange. So as great as the payoff was in season 1, right after 13 episodes of wanting to see this happen, the way it was presented and shot, I think, felt a little cheap on a revisit, I guess. And here, obviously, things look much more expensive, but having, again, 2 seasons basically worth of content since we've had a really satisfying antagonist and confrontation for Daredevil, it felt like there was so much more budget and anticipation and payoff in the finale fight. So yeah, I think it's the best. Hallway scene is super impressive and awesome, but I think this might be the best showdown they had in the show.
Yeah, agreed.
Are there any other major things? Let's check in on Karen and Foggy. How are you feeling about them this season?
It was good to see them again. I appreciate how there's like less tension. Like there's more understanding, I think, between the characters at this point. Like after they learn that Matt is alive, like they're kind of at the point where like, all right, we kind of get it. We get what's going on with you, Matt. We know that you're Daredevil and all that. So after that's over, I really enjoy their relationship and where that goes. I think I appreciated Foggy's subplot in this, of like trying to stand up against the guy who's running for DA, who's not really doing much. I liked that. I think I don't really like the Karen stuff in this, like where they go back and do the flashback with her family. Um, Obviously, there were seeds planted with that with her character in like season one. I want to say,
Yeah.
um, but I don't know. I don't. At the end of the day, I'm not sure how worthwhile that was, considering we obviously don't have season four. So in hindsight, it kind of just feels out of place. It didn't really go anywhere, in my opinion. Um, but it was good seeing them, and I love where it leaves off, where they all kind of get what's going on, and they're kind of just fine with it because they know they work well as a team. So I like that.
Yeah, I do too, because honestly, throughout the past two seasons, I did kind of miss that ragtag lawyer group of just the banter they had and using their characters to progress. I guess what Matt already knows all the time. Just to, like, it's an interesting way to tell the mystery in season one. And I'm sure at the time I would have been stoked, being like, "Yeah, season four, gang's all here. It's gonna be great again." And then, obviously, the time was not kind to this show. But yeah, I like Foggy here more than I did in season two. Karen, I think I agree with you because I went into this knowing we didn't get more, right? So like the amount of time we spent on it, I was like, don't love how long we're hanging here, but for what it does for Karen as a character to make her feel like she's more well realized, I appreciate. But I'm sure they had plans to follow up or have some sort of development for her in a season four, but we don't know what's going to happen with that. So,
Yeah, like it seems like this was them setting up maybe something a little bit deeper about her character. I don't know. It felt like something that they maybe felt like they needed to do. Um, but I don't know. It kind of felt maybe too late at this point. Like we're in season three and we're getting this
sure.
backstory for Karen. Um, I don't know. I don't know how worthwhile that was to explore at the end of the day.
Yeah, I definitely get that. Um, is there any other major stuff we haven't touched on yet that is top of mind for you with this season?
Like there's like the stuff with Nadim and stuff, which I enjoyed. I liked his character. I like how he was, for the most part, a solid, morally right character, and then was thrust in the situation that he kind of had to go along with.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they handled that pretty well. But yeah, I wouldn't say like I honestly forgot he was in this season in a lot of ways because I think there's characters that outshine him a little bit more, but he was, I think, a really good addition as a new character to the season.
Sure. Yeah, I think it's hard to introduce well liked characters late in a show's life,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like it's only season three, right? But considering that this is, for all intents and purposes, the final season, um, I think that their character was handled well, also. But
Yeah.
uh, I guess how would you rank this seasons one, two, three? I imagine I know the answer, but I'd like to hear it.
Yeah, it would be 1, 2. Excuse me, 1, 3, 1, 3, 2 for me. Season one, I think, is perfect. Like straight up, I think I'd probably give it a 5 out of 5, maybe 4.5 out of 5. Um, Season three, I think, is close behind, but I think there are some issues with it. Um, Season two is a season I don't really want to revisit. I don't think it's bad. I just don't really like it all that much. It feels very much like a setup for the Defenders in a lot of ways. Like half of
Mm-hmm.
that season is a setup for the Hand to continue,
Mm-hmm.
which I dislike. So, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. What about you?
I'd also rank one, three, two. Um, how would you put Defenders in there? Because I think I still like the courtroom stuff and the Daredevil season two Frank Castle stuff. in the first half more than I do the entirety of Defenders.
I do too. And honestly, I'm struggling to remember the plot of the Defenders, and I watched that very recently.
Yeah.
So I think it would be a season 2 above the Defenders. I appreciated some stuff in the Defenders, but the main plot,
Mm-hmm.
the antagonists, didn't enjoy.
Yeah. And I think all that in mind as well, with the hindsight of 3 seasons of Daredevil, I think I'd have to like actually stew on it. I think, but I think for how excellent season 1 is and how fantastic and how close they get to season 1 with season 3, and season 2 just being like it's fine, it's good, like lowercase g. I think Daredevil for me in my MCU ranking would probably easily be top 10. How do you feel?
As a whole, like seasons 1 through 3.
Yeah, 1, 2, and 3 all together.
Yeah, that's the thing. I would think it would be in my top 10.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I know it would be in my top 10. If I
Mm-hmm.
was just ranking season 1, that's very high. See, like 1, 2, and 3. I'm gonna pull out my list right now. 1, 2, and 3.
I'm pulling mine up as well, just for reference.
So, sorry, my top 10 as it stands is Shang-Chi at number 10, Black Panther at number 9, Guardians at number 8, Homecoming at 7, WandaVision at 6, No Way Home at 5, Winter Soldier at 4, Infinity War at 3, Endgame at 2, Civil War at 1. I think I would put this maybe between Black Panther and Guardians at the new number 9 spot.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think that's probably where I'd put it.
Okay. Currently, mine is Captain America: First Avenger at 10, Ragnarok at 9, Endgame is 8, No Way Home. Sorry, Far From Home is 7, 6 is Infinity War, 5 is Winter Soldier, 4 is Guardians 1, 3 is No Way Home, 2 is Shang-Chi, and 1 is Guardians 2. If it was just season 1, I think it would be 2, honestly. Because I think the stuff they do with Matt Murdock as a character is just so much more interesting, I think, than a lot of what these other movies do. But the whole show combined, I would put between Infinity War and Far From Home, so that would be number 7, I think.
Okay, cool.
So, yeah,
It's a great show.
absolutely. Last question then. Season 4, hypothetically, the next project. Do you want them to pick up where they left off?
I do, but I don't think we'll get a season 4.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'll be Daredevil : something or another. Because it's going to be a different tone and style. Unless like they get everyone back, like showrunners included. I don't anticipate them doing that.
Yeah.
So I think they will pick up. I think we will pick up with Nelson Murdoch and Paige like doing their thing. Like that'll be the opening shot. And like we'll just assume that time has passed.
Mm-hmm.
They've been working pretty well together. And we'll go from there. That's kind of what I'm thinking.
I think you have the right thoughts in your head. And I know that there's a Daredevil comic arc called, I think it's called Born Again. I think that's the subtitle.
Interesting. That'd be cool.
Yeah. So, whatever the project is, I can't wait for it. I think clearly this is one of the best Marvel projects of the last decade. So, it was very fun rewatching and watching for the first time some of these things. And I am glad it's not lost to time and Disney Plus is getting it for more people
Yeah.
to see.
Thank God.
Yeah, because I don't know if I said this to you, but on my TikTok, my For You page has a lot of people that are going through Daredevil for the first time, or they were at least. So, I think it's a good good moment for Charlie Cox, just what a guy, what a way to celebrate this character.
Yeah, he deserves it.
Yeah. Did you also see that thing where he was like, I went to the theater and my girlfriend was recording me and like nobody cheered?
Yeah, that's so surprising. Like
Yeah.
he went, I would assume opening day, and no one did. That's so surprising. That is so surprising.
I know.
Like, did he go to a senior center to watch?
Oh man. Yeah, that's such a bummer. But he knows. He knows everybody loves him, I'm sure. But that is Daredevil, Marvel's Daredevil. It's been fantastic. But Jack, until next week, where can the agents of Excelsior find you?
Sure, you can follow me on Twitter at FascinatedJack. What about you, Christian?
You can find me on Twitter, TikTok at Chun2D2. YouTube.com/joyclicks is where you can find the video version of Excelsior along with other videos that go up throughout the week. Jack and I finished playing through Pokemon Legends Arceus, and that season of My First Mon is now available in full under the playlist next to the playlist for Marvel's Avengers podcast, Excelsior. That's not the name of the show. You can support the show in multiple ways. You can go listen to us on your favorite podcast service like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, anything like that. Rating and reviewing on that platform takes a quick second and helps us out a ton, helps us reach more people, and we appreciate it very much. If you want to support the shows further, you can do so by going to patreon.com/joyclicks at the $1 and $5 tiers. $5 will give you producer credit on every show we produce, including this one, like Aaron Easton and Jose Garcia. So thank you very much. And that's it for another week. We'll see what's up next week with Avengers. Maybe a War Table blog that works. Maybe a roadmap. But until then, Excelsior.
Excelsior.